This is Rukadowski of WeAreChange.org, joined by Tim Pashot, the Liberty Advisor. And in this video, we are going to be talking about YouTube and its CEO recently coming out on CNN talking about their new guidelines. And as you all know, just a few days ago, my main channel, WeAreChange, was completely demonetized because of the official response was because of, quote, harmful content to the viewers. We, of course, inquired why, who, what's going on here? What did we do? Can you give us any specifics to what was harmful? And we actually got an official response saying, well, you just violated the policy and you were I'm like, what? No official guidelines, no official rules, just vague, generalized mumbo jumbo that absolutely made no sense. And if you follow our videos, especially from the very beginning onset of this entire crazy sickness and crisis that we're dealing with, all the points and predictions that we've made have been on point. But now we're getting a sneak peek into what YouTube is really doing with this latest interview by Susan Wojcicki, the YouTube CEO, on CNN, saying this. And let's play the clip here. Warning, before you watch this video, be warned that you might lose a few IQ points just by listening to this. So, Tim, you want to introduce this?
Yeah, here we go.
But then we also talk about removing information that is problematic. You know, of course, anything that is medically unsubstantiated. So people saying like, take vitamin C.
Yeah, Luke, you can't have people taking vitamin C. I mean, it's just so crazy.
This is like Orwell Ministry of Truth level propaganda. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, there's scientific studies talking about how vitamin C infusion has helped the treatment of this sickness. There's hospitals in New York City that are using vitamin C to help people deal with this particular situation. Again, we're not giving any medical advice here, but we're stating scientific studies, what doctors and hospitals are doing, and now we risk getting banned because of that. I mean, I was already demonetized, lost, not only ad revenue, but our memberships, our super chats, our ability to sustain ourselves because of talking about these scientific studies. What? Are you kidding me? That's just absolutely insane, totally backwards. And that's the standard that they use to ban content, stuff that actually works. And how backwards is that? Let's continue playing this clip because it gets even crazier from here.
Take turmeric, like those are all will cure you. Those are the examples of things that would be a violation of our policy. Anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations would be a violation of our policy. And so remove is another really important part of our policy.
What?
But then we also talk about...
Are you kidding me? Again, it's also important to note here, the World Health Organization just makes assessments. They don't really recommend anything. But when you look at the record of the World Health Organization, they've been wrong consistently, not just occasionally, but consistently. You want to get your guidance from the World Health Organization, the same organization that told us that there was no human-to-human transition, that the public shouldn't wear masks, that this only transmits through 1 meter, that this is only transmitted not through aerosols, that this is not spread asystematically. That's all the assessments that the World Health Organization came out with that were all completely wrong. They also talked about how banning air travel was, quote, racist, which is absolutely mind-boggling. The mainstream media, of course, regurgitated those lies and made the situation that we're dealing with that much worse. And now we're using this organization that's propped up by a former revolutionary communist that's being accused of hiding previous pandemics in his country, that's accused of human rights violations in his country. That's the person running it in the pocket of China that's going to be deciding what we can and cannot say. This is Orwellian to the most detrimental extent, especially during these extreme circumstances, and it's only being made worse by the World Health Organization. Again, the masks, the other stuff that I mentioned, that's just the no human transmission. I mean, this kind of like boils my blood a little bit. And sadly, I know a lot of YouTubers that are going to be afraid to even call this out. A lot of YouTubers are afraid to lose their monetization and won't even be talking about this. But this is more important than ever to discuss because it's not only YouTube going on the World Health Organization guidelines, it's also the World Health Organization deciding who gets to speak and not, as of course, Facebook, Amazon, and Google are meeting and working with the World Health Organization to, of course, censor the internet. And that's exactly what they're doing now. A lot of our videos have been deleted. I don't even know which ones, especially on the main We Are Change channel. A lot of our views are suppressed. A lot of our ability to make an income have been completely taken away. And now we're going to go after this kind of Orwellian freedom is slavery 2 + 2 = 5 ideology. Sorry, I'm just going on the rant here, but this is absolutely crazy, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, and not to even mention that, you know, we were talking like, right before we started getting into this. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't like 23andMe like somehow like tied into like Susan? Like, here I am going to go like pull you now. I can't pronounce her last name. Wojcicki or Wojcicki? Wojcicki. Okay, you got that one down there. You know, that one down pat. But when it comes to Anne Wojcicki, who is the sister of Susan, she runs 23andMe. Was also married to Sergey Brin, the founder of Google, who started YouTube, as we are now calling it, Whotube. I did pick that up from the comments of Twitter, which I decided to get back onto Twitter today, so you guys can follow me at the Liberty Advisor, but the advisor is ADVSR, and I feel like a boomer here trying to figure out how to use this thing. But yeah, it is a great but yeah, I mean, just how crazy this. Then we also have on screen right now that there was also a dinner where in 2011 where Jeffrey Epstein who was a known sex offender at the time, was, you know, there's leaders of Google and Amazon and Tesla were dining with him. But anyways, it was, you know, back to, you know, Susan Wojcicki and, you know, all this different stuff where, oh, you know, they can use their judgment to start dining with them, but you can't tell people to take vitamin C. So Luke and I are here telling you, whatever you do not take that evil vitamin C. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have to throw the drink I have, you know, next to me away because I added some extra vitamin C to it. You know, what was I thinking? Because apparently that's not kosher anymore for YouTube or Whotube. Sorry, Whotube.
Yeah, another thing to kind of bring up here is specifically that she outlines these new guidelines, which are absolutely crazy, kind of completely backwards, are going to end up hurting a lot of people because, again, it just denies people the basic ability to have the truth. The best way to come to the truth is to hear all different sides of the story, to hear different opinions, and come to the truth yourself after seeing both sides of the story. We're not going to be able to do that because of YouTube and their policies restricting you from having speech that they disagree with. And this is just the most asinine, ridiculous kind of idea and belief that someone should be in charge of what you can and cannot hear. But this is the situation that we're dealing with now, creating a society where we have controllers of ideas. And this is extremely dangerous. And a big caveat to mention here with Susan Wojcicki mentioning this is that she talked about deleting and censoring and, of course, downranking and, of course, hurting videos that talk about, you know, vitamin C and other stuff and that call out the World Health Organization for being the liars that they are. But she forgot to mention that many news organizations are going to be exempt from any of these rules. Again, we've seen atrocious, horrible reporting from the mainstream media about this. Again, significantly underplaying it in the beginning, significantly overplaying it. Again, anytime there's something major happening and you look at the mainstream media, these kind of authoritative sources, as YouTube calls them, you see them getting it wrong. They got it wrong from the very beginning. Independent media that got it right is getting punished. We are an example of that. Again, I made a video just talking about all the predictions that we've been making, all the calls that we've been making. We've been pinpoint on this. All the other channels have been absolutely horrible. I mean, they were talking about and promoting the ideas of hugging your local Chinaman as a great idea. They were talking about hurtful words when in reality, we're dealing with a situation that is just absolutely so much more significant than all the other nonsense hooey that was spewed by them, all the wasted time, all the misinformation, all the hurtful stuff that, again, put us in this predicament that is not a good one. We're not in a good situation. We're in a bad one. And we could thank the mainstream media for not doing their job as one example of that. And again, this is only going to be made worse. And I still can't understand this kind of theory and this kind of ideology that it's good that there's the middle person, a censor, which is essentially what YouTube is becoming, the censor that decides, you know what, your idea is good, your idea is bad. That's not a way to progress society. It's a way to regress society. It's a way to downgrade human civilization from free thinking, building and creative individuals into a totalitarian state. And it's a slippery slope, and we're going down it pretty fast. And there's no denying that, especially with this latest statement by Susan Wojcicki, which deserves to be called out. And sadly, a lot of people are going to be too afraid to even do that. So Tim, that's all I pretty much have to say about that specific issue. Anything else you want to add to that as well? Also, there's a caveat here with Facebook as well, working with CNN and Oliver Darcy, taking down different events and different protests and other information that they don't like as well. How did CNN get into this position? I don't understand this, that they're kind of calling the march here for the Ministry of Truth, which is essentially what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, I was speaking to CNN, was it like Chris Cuomo, who now he's finally emerged from his basement, but, wasn't it him that said, it's illegal for you to look at the WikiLeaks, only we can look at the WikiLeaks, and we will look at them and tell you what's important.
I'm so happy you brought him up because, again, Chris Cuomo came out a few days ago when he was supposed to be in quarantine, right? He was supposed to be self-isolating. There's still news articles about Chris Cuomo isolating from society because he was diagnosed and was confirmed to have this viral sickness that's going around. He was confirmed to have it. He was supposed to stay away from individuals. As he was in quarantine, he was talking about a guy who was angry at him because he violated that quarantine. And by violating that quarantine, according to the, official story, he's putting everyone's life at risk. He had a confrontation with a guy that he was talking about outside in the street. And now he's going out, and there's this article here. I'm going to send it to you.
I think I have the article right now without even.
It's the USA. It's the USA Today article, and it's the headline here is "I'm back." CNN Chris Cuomo reemerges from basement after 3 weeks of sickness isolation. Well, no, he was out and about fighting and having arguments with some guy who was mad about him violating the quarantine. So that article is completely untrue. But if you mention that, you're going against the mainstream media. That's not what the mainstream media believes. YouTube will, of course, cut you. It's the truth, but the truth doesn't matter to YouTube. What matters is promoting the propaganda, promoting the authoritative sources, promoting the garbage, nonsense, controlled dialogue. That's what they want. That's what they're pushing for. Another prime example is this USA Today article that is factually incorrect. It needs to be called out. But again, you say that on YouTube, you're punished. They're promoted. They're sent to your recommendations. They're going to be the ones that you're going to have to see because YouTube gives you no other choice while screwing me over and destroying my livelihood. That's absolutely crazy. So I'm very happy you just brought up Chris Cuomo there because it perfectly fits into the kind of fake news out there promoted by mainstream media, but attacked by YouTube when it's called out.
Yeah, and I did find an article from the Daily Mail where it's entitled, Chris Cuomo is ridiculed for staging a reunion with his family after several weeks locked in basement when 9 days ago he left his Hamptons mansion and had a row with a loser fat biker. And so I thought, actually they already had that article basically stating what you just had there, but we didn't plan any of this to talk about. But no, we've got the Thought Police, and of course, my initials are TTP, so we got the Thought Police. You mentioned the Ministry of Truth. Even on Facebook now, they're saying you can't go and organize even in private groups, even in secret groups to, if you wanted to have protests or you wanted to organize against some of this stuff, not making any judgments on whether you should or shouldn't, but you should have the ability to be able to do that. And that's why it's also more important than ever, as Luke already mentioned, being demonetized off of We Are Change. So, heading over to Change the News. If you're watching this on Change the News right now, making sure to subscribe, click the bell up there. We've been putting out tons of hard-hitting pieces, basically have an entire chronology of this ongoing financial collapse from day one. So, years down the road, let's probably be banned off YouTube years down the road, but eventually, years down the road, people will be able to go back to this content and see just a progression or regression of how everything, devolved to the current situation it is. But, who knows? The current situation, this is the time to speak out. This is the time to take action because, independent content creators and those of us who don't toe the line are not always going to be there. You shouldn't take us for granted, whether, you like people or not, whether you like me or not. It's about standing up for everybody right now because pretty soon all you're going to be able to get is, basically the mainstream media narrative and crap being, shoved down your throat. But that's all I had. Yeah. Luke.
Well, it's a slow squeeze. It's a slow drip that they're doing. It's a slow poison drip of just trying to eliminate.
Hopefully it's not a slow squeeze of orange juice or something into it. You wouldn't want to get
Don't
any
mention
vitamins.
that. You're going to get banned.
Sorry.
We might get banned for even making this video. That's how outrageous and insane the situation is. And again, there's a whole culture of fear on YouTube. We don't play into it. We talk about the issues. This is an important one to get out there to the general public. And also another way to make sure that you never lose contact with us is by going to wearechange.org. I don't know if you could pull it up, Tim, but in the top right-hand corner, there's a little thing here that says join We Are Change, and you could put in your email address. And that way, if they do completely eviscerate us like they did other people, we still are able to contact you and be in touch with you through emails and have a physical email address that we could personally respond to you. So sign up on that email list. It's more important than ever. We're living in extremely strange times. We're telling the truth literally gets you punished. Let's fight back against that, because that's not a world I want to live in. That's not a world I want my children living in. And the best way to fight back is, of course, to raise your voices and to keep our attention, eyes, and clicks on this important issue and to be heard. Stay tuned for more here on Change the News.